Guys, I decided to do a quick little video anyway. So I had to make a little clutch for my friend to match a bag that she bought from me. So I come up with this. There won't be a pattern, but I do go into detail all of the measurements for this if you'd like to make one. So it's just super cute, really quick. So if you'd like to see how to make it, stay tuned. Hey guys, alright, so I know in my group I said this morning that I wasn't going to have time to do a video. However, I recently made this bag and my friend has decided she wants it for her mum and she'd like a little matching little clutch kind of thing to go in the bag to match it. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to make up a pattern because I also get a lot of questions on how do I make my patterns. So first off, I've just got the 3 fabrics that I need and I have a rough idea of what size I want it. So I've got the bag here so that I can take my measurements. So I only want it about 7 inches wide because I want it to be able to fit easily into this bag. So that's why it's here and I just wanted to explain that to you. Now this is the main fabric that I use. This is a sateen from Spotlight. So if I want it 7 inches wide, I need to add ½ an inch each side to do a seam allowance. So if we just draw, this is an erasable pen, so I'm using my friction pen in case I stuff it up because I'm quite literally winging it. So I want to do 8 inches along because I want to take ½ an inch off each side. So that's how big I want it. And then I just need to work out what I think looks nice as far as how deep it is. So I'm going to draw 6 and see how I feel about that. So that's, you got to remember it's going to be 1 inch shorter. So I think that's a good size. So I'm going to go with 8 by 6. So I'm just going to draw 2 of those. So for my front and back. So that is now my main body of my clutch. So I'm just going to cut that out. Now obviously I'm going to have to put interfacing and everything on, but we'll do that in a minute. And I probably won't write a pattern, so you'll just have to refer to this video. So 8 inches by 6 inches is the size of the rectangle. And I have done 2 of those. That's my rubbish. I'm just going to set it aside and then chop those in half. So it's just going to be a nice little clutch that you can add in. All right, so now for my vinyl. So I would like a wristlet strap, but I'm thinking I don't necessarily want to use a lot of hardware. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a zipper that has like a circle pull so that I can clip a wristlet strap to it. And I'm going to make the strap kind of be attached to the bag. So all straps for me are 14 inches. And I'm thinking I just want a ½ inch strap. So I'm going to rule 2 by 14 inches. Because when I double fold all of that over, I'm going to get a ½ inch strap. So that's now my wristlet strap. And then I'm thinking I'd like a little bit of an accent of vinyl on here. So I'm going to take my ruler and I think I'm going to go 4 inches by 5 inches. So I'm going to draw 5 inches here, 4 inches along there, so straight edge, and mark that. And then I'm going to rule a straight line, and that is going to be my accent. And so then I can basically do the same thing. So if I do that and that, I've now got 2 accents that I can just add to the side here. Doesn't have to be that size. I'm just making it up. So I'm now going to chop all of this out. And for those that are interested into what scissors I'm using, these are my Fiskars spring-loaded scissors. So they're both on the same side. So the idea is that this is going to sit in that corner like that and look just adorable. And then there. Oh no, that way. That way. So they're going to be on the same side like that, but when we join the bag, they'll be on opposite sides. So it'll be there and there. So that's really cute. I like that. I'm going to put all of that aside. Now I'm going to do zipper tabs because I have just decided that that's what I want to do. So I'm going to make vinyl zipper tabs. So my zipper tape is 1 1/4 inches wide. So I'm going to make 1 1/4 inch squares for my zipper tabs. So there's one, there's another one. So that's the zipper tabs on the top. So I've got a wristlet strap, my zipper tabs, and an accent piece. Then I can pop that aside. And then I'm going to grab the same lining that I used for the inside of the bag so that everything is super matchy. And then I'm going to draw again. Whoops. That's not going to fit there. So we're going to go to an edge. And I'm going to draw 2 rectangles that are 8 by 6. So I'm going to go... I should have unrolled this more, but I'm trying to do it so you guys can see. And if usually when I unroll it, I throw it right where you're sitting. And we don't want to actually knock you over because then, you know, it'll go all wonky. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to go 8 across like so. And then rule that line down. Come across. And then 6 inches down. And across like that. So that is the quick way. So what I did was I just doubled the 6 to 12. So I ruled 12 inches down and then 8 inches across and then just found the center. You could even skip ruling that center line and just fold it in half and like do that with your scissors if you want to. All right, so on my, as far as interfacing goes, I'm going to put a medium woven on my lining pieces because they are only a quilting cotton. So I won't like them the way they sit by themselves. And then the outside, I'm going to put my hefty interfacing with, no, actually not with anything. So I'm not going to add any kind of foam or fleece because it's only small. I feel like that would be too much. So I also am going to just do a little zipper pocket on the inside. And so that's going to fit nicely. It doesn't need to be huge. So this piece is 5 3/4, and then I'm just going to fold it down till I like the look. And then I'm going to cut it and I'll show you what it ends up measuring. So the pocket come to 9 by 5 3/4. And so that's just going to be a little zipper pocket that fits in there. See how that works? I like it. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off the camera. I'm going to iron on my interfacings. I've also had a request to have some embroidery on the bag. So I'm going to do all of that off camera and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to sew it up. All right, so I have a Boot Scootin' Life now embroidered on here. This is a Western font I bought, I don't know from where, the internet somewhere. I've got my tape, my zipper tape that matches the other bag. I've also got 2 zipper pulls and a little 1/2 inch clip. This was actually sent to me by accident when I ordered all the other stuff. There was just a single loner wrong size clip, although I do like it, so I'm probably going to start ordering them. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my angled piece and line it up with that corner. And then I'm going to top stitch it down. Now I've got it on 4 as my stitch length. And I'm still going to back stitch, and I'm doing it 1/8 of an inch from that edge. Now to help myself, I'm also going to stitch all 3 sides of the triangle. And what this is going to do is it's going to stop this flapping around when I'm trying to join it. It's just going to make my life a bit easier. And then I back stitched at the end. And so that's now one piece. Now I could have also done like cute little half circle corner bits. but I didn't really think about it, so I didn't do it. So again, I'm going to line this up in the corner, back stitch. Now this bobbin is nearly finished. I knew that when I put it in. I don't know if you can hear that. I can. But I didn't want to waste it unnecessarily. Okay, so there's my other one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the outside over there, and I'm going to take my wristlet strap because it's next on the list of things next to me, and I'm going to cut off the start of that because it's icky, and then put a strip of double-sided tape down the center of the wristlet strap, like so. Peel off the backing, and then fold both sides into the center. Now this upholstery vinyl I got from an actual upholstery guy that was moving shop interstate and didn't want to take all his stuff with him. So this one is actually very, very soft. Apparently it's quite an expensive vinyl. I have heaps of it. It's a bit dark for most fabrics, but I do quite like it. So I'm folding both sides into the center. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rub it on the edge of my table to really help set that crease in. Because now I'm going to fold it over again and I'm going to top stitch it. So I'm going to stick with my long top stitch. And I'm going to start on the joined end. So I'm going to back stitch, work my way down. So I'm just folding it over as I go. Now, if you're new to sewing, instead what you can do is you can put some clips along here. You could also run another line of double-sided tape and then stick it together. And then I'm going to go across this end, needle down and pivot, and then go back down the other side. Now you don't want to go too fast here because there is double-sided tape inside here and you don't want to snap your needle. And then back stitch. And I just ran out of bobbin thread then. I could not have timed that more perfect if I tried. So I'm just going to pull out that bobbin and then stick in the new one. Like so. I can now do this by touch. I don't need to see what I'm doing. But if you're new to industrial machines, you can push this aside and then you can see what you're doing. Okay, so that's my strap. Now the end where I sewed across, I'm going to pop that in and that's going to be my strap there like so. Now I want to put a rivet there because I think it's going to be pretty. Now in here, I've got some decorative rivets that we're going to do in a second. I just wanted to do all riveting at once, but I am going to get a double capped rivet for this one so it looks nice. Okay. So down here I've got my hole punch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it over wherever I think I want it. There's not really a right and a wrong answer here. I'm going to line it up and squish a hole. Then I can put the double capped rivet through both. Now you could use single capped if you want to. Just make sure that the non-capped side is on this short side. And then I'm just going to put the cap on the back. And then squish it down. So that's now my adorable little strap. Now I want to put some rivets down here to make it more decorative and a little bit shiny. So I'm going to take the ruler that I was gifted in my Swapsy because it is super handy right now. And I'm just going to go 1 inch and mark, and every inch I'm going to mark one. But I'm only going to do I'm only going to do 4. So I'm going to mark 1 inch from the edge because 1/2 inch there and 1/2 inch there is seam allowance. and this one would be too close, so I just want those 4. It's going to look a little bit out of place, but I promise that it will be fine. 3, 4. Because if I did this one, because it's on an angle, that last one would actually be in the seam allowance, and we're going to create a hole that we don't want to do. And then you'll snap a needle. So I'm just going to punch these 4 holes out. And I'm going to do the same to this one. Now this is obviously optional. You don't have to put these on. I just want it to look a little bit more decorative. Like I said, I'm kind of making this up as I go along. So now I'm going to get now these are single caps. See how there's a hole in the bottom of these? So we're going to push these up from the back. So I'm going to do all 4. And then I'll flip it over and click the caps on. So there's that. And then I'm going to grab some caps. Now these are smaller than the wristlet one. I think these are 6 or 7 mil. I really don't know. I bought them a very long time ago. But the single cap isn't going to take away from this now. And yes, I deliberately did my embroidery thread in the same color as the hardware I was going to use. And I won't be putting my logo on this because there's not really any way to do it. I'm actually going to look into making tape, like ribbon with my name on it or something to that effect, so I can start sewing it into smaller projects like this. Because a 2-inch logo on this bag is just a bit much, I think. And I don't want to take away from the overall aesthetic. So I'm just going to click some caps on. You can actually hear them click. I don't know if you can, but I definitely can. All right, and so then we're going to click these ones down as well. Now, I know it doesn't look terribly even at the moment because of here, but just bear with me. I think it's going to work out just fine. Okay, so next up, we need our zipper pocket panel, which was 9 by, I want to say 5 3/4. Oh, look at that. This ruler is going to help out again. So I'm going to measure 1/2 inch down and 3/4 of an inch in. Now this is obviously just going to be a very, very small zipper pocket, but I don't care. It's going to be awesome. 3/8 should be that way. Mark the line. So basically I'm just making sure I've got 3/4 of an inch on each side. And then I'm going to take one of my lining pieces. Now where the fold is, the side I didn't draw on has to be at the top, like so. And then I'm just going to stitch around the box. Now I'm going to go back to a joining stitch for the rest of this bag. Needle down, pivot, needle down and pivot, and then back stitch when you get back to that start. Now, if I wanted to, I could have also cut an extra vinyl accent panel to put around this. You obviously need to know the sizings before you do that. So I'm going to fold it in half, make a snip in the center, and then like I always do, I'm going to cut through the center till about 1/2 inch from the end and then triangle out those corners. Like that. I'm going to push this through the pocket. Right, so now I'm going to, I should have set up my iron. I'm going to have to iron this off screen because I haven't set up my mini iron. I forgot to turn it on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to iron that so that that's all flat. And then I'm also going to come and I'm going to iron back like a 3/8 of an inch on both of these pieces so that when it matches up, everything is even. So I'm just going to go and iron that, and I'll be right back. So looking at the size of this hole, I actually think I'm just going to leave it as a slip pocket. So instead of adding the zipper now, I'm just going to stitch around that hole at 1/8 of an inch to hold that in place. But I still did the ironing of the bit because we're going to turn the bag through this hole, I'm hoping. Back stitch. Okay, so I've just trimmed off my tails. So now I'm just going to let this fall, pretending like it's a zipper pocket. And so those edges join together, I'm going to stitch down the side of both sides. So it's just like a zipper pocket, except I didn't put a zipper in. Same everything. And the reason for that is because that's a really small hole. So once I also add in a zipper, you're going to have even less of an opening because the zipper will be in the way. I'm just going to shut that because it's making noise. Back stitch, stitch down that edge and back stitch at the bottom end as well. And then I'm going to switch over and do the other side. So I'm making sure that both of these are lined up. Like that. Back stitch, stitch up and back stitch. Now before I set this aside, why is that so tight? It's very tight today. There we go. Just loosen it off a bit. So before I put this aside, I'm going to take some scissors and I'm just going to cut off some of the bulk at the bottom of the zipper pocket. Just get it less. What this is going to do is when we try and sew it closed, there's not going to be big bulky bits at the edges. So now we've got a cute little slip pocket that we can get through. So now we need some zipper tape. Now, as you can see, I didn't singe this last time I cut it. Very naughty of me. So I'm going to cut a fresh edge and singe it now. They get knocked around a bit. So I want to do, basically, so we've got 8 inches along the top, and I want to have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm actually going to take off 1 1/4 inches less than the zip that we need. So if I need it there, we're going to go 1 1/4 less and then cut it there. Like that. That's the amount of zip we need, which translates to 16 3/4, or 6 3/4, sorry. So the reason we want to do slightly more than 1/2 inch is because we're putting vinyl tabs on the end. It's going to make it a little bit more bulky, and you don't want to clip this end in your seam allowance. That's not what we're doing. So, first things first, put a zipper pull on your zipper, and then we're going to put the tabs on. Oh, don't start with me, zip. I'm not in the mood. There we go. So, we're going to take our little zipper tabs, which are 1 1/4 inch squares. The reason I'm telling you so many measurements today is because I'm not writing a pattern for this. You can just, you do you. You can make it bigger or smaller, but the zipper tabs are basically the width of your zip in a square, so that when we fold it over, it's going to be half the width of the zipper, so it's cute. So, I'm just going to use my fingers and really rub that double-sided tape on. If you're wondering why my nails look so bad, because I can feel that they hurt. All my fake nails are knocked off. It's making sewing much, much harder. Alright, so I'm just going to stick these on. They're just going to kind of be tacked with that double-sided tape. Like that. And then we're going to stitch across the top of all of them. with a 1-inch seam allowance from the edge of the vinyl. So to get nice and close, you just don't want to also fall off. Stitch over, back stitch. And then I'm going to trim it in half and cut off that tail. So voila. Now, we just line this up in the center. So there should be a gap that's slightly bigger than 1/2 inch on each side. Now, because I've got zipper tabs, I always like to actually clip this so that it's not going to move while I'm stitching it. Normally, off I go, line it up and wing it. But because of tabs, I actually like to join it. So this piece is going to have our back piece. So we're pretending that, so normally there would be a zipper, so you want the zippers to close the same way. Even though there's no zipper in it, it's the same principle. And so then I'm going to take this piece and add it into my clips, making sure that it's all lined up because they're all the same size. I measured it and everything. So now we're going to stitch along that top edge. So I'm still just on a 2.5 stitch length. There's nothing spectacular about that. Then I'm going to stop here, lift up my foot, and move the zipper so that I'm not sewing past the zipper. You'll get nice clean edges if you do it that way. And then I'm going to pivot it. So I've sewn off the edge, but I'm not lifting up the needle and I'm not chopping off the thread. And then I'm just going to fold just this top bit down and stitch along there. Now I'm not going to change my stitch length for this. I'm quite happy to still just have it at this size. Feel free to actually zip the zipper out of your way so you don't accidentally sew your zipper pull. But that is now one side done. Now let's do the other side. So I just grab the rectangle, and so this time it should be even easier to line up because the edge of the fabric should line up with the edge of the other fabric. So you should just be able to line that up like so, and everything matches up beautifully. And if not, it means you've cut something wrong. Or you've stretched something, which means your interface wasn't applied correctly. Fabric is a little bit stretchy without the interfacing. So then we're going to put the front piece, which for me is the boot scoot and life, front down. So we've made a zipper sandwich. Like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to stitch, pivot, and then top stitch just the top piece. I'm going to stop there, move the zipper. Back stitch, pivot, fold it over, back stitch, finger crease. Now the reason I'm not trying to iron this is because I don't want to get my zipper tabs and then melt the vinyl on them. It's just as easy to finger press it and then trim off those tails. So this is now what we've got going on. So before we go any further, we need to attach our zipper thing. So when you think about it, right, I'm going to show you just so you can think about it. When you want it shut, you want the wristlet strap pulling this end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop this around so that the top, so I'm holding this flat and then I'm going to swivel it around this way. And I'm going to attach it to the top bit of my accent, but then I need to flip it onto itself. There, like that. So it's going to line up with the very tip of the accent. So I'm going to put a clip in it. And so that will be the size of the wristlet strap, which is plenty big enough. And so now that I've done that, I can also see that when it's open, I can still get into it. It goes the full length. Now I can unclip that now because it's where I need it to be. And so I'm going to take the outside pieces and line them up in the corners. So first off, I'm going to do a corner, and then I'm going to come straight up to this end here. Now I need to bend my vinyl tab so that everything's going to line up the way I want it to. I know it doesn't look like it is, but it will. Like that. Then I'm going to come to this corner over here and line that corner up and add some clips along the bottom here. Now it's as many or as few as you feel comfortable with. And then we want this to be in the bag. So just tuck that in, and then I'm going to line up this seam with that seam there, bending that vinyl tab again. And then you can come and line up the bottom. The bottom should be much, much easier. Lining is always easier. It's more pliable. Now I'm going to sew it this side up to make sure that my little slip pocket doesn't have any issues. And I'm going to stitch 1/2 inch the whole way around. Or thereabouts. I think this is more 3/8, but that's still fine. When you get here, you want to make sure that we're not stitching over the zipper tab. So you'll feel it. Needle down. I'm going to clean up my clips and then pivot. Now see now that that is actually not so far away from the edge. There's method in my madness, I swear. Alright. Now this is where the strap is. So I'm actually going to back stitch. I'm going to come back and do some extra stitches on that in a minute. I'm just going to finish up this side like that. Clear up my clips again. Now I'm going to come back to where the wristlet strap is. This is going to hold the whole weight of the bag, basically. So I'm just going to do some zigzagging back and forth over that area to really reinforce the fact that that is now in there. It's not the neatest, but you don't see it. So I've gone forward, back stitched it all in. It should be right now. So now, before we turn it out, we want to get those corners nice and pointy. So I'm going to trim off some excess, like a lot of excess, so that it sits nice. And then I'm also going to come to where the fabrics join here, and I'm just going to cut like a U shape out so that that will also turn easier. And then I'm going to do the same to the lining. In fact, you could probably just trim off a lot of the lining. If you remember things like that, you could also actually cut the lining slightly smaller and just have a smaller seam allowance. But that's a lot of brain power effort that I'm not interested in personally. Okay, so now we're just going to go through here. And I'm going to gather it up like you would a sock. And then I'm going to get to this corner and poke it through with my thumb. And then the bag pretty much just does everything itself. Quite simple. So you just want to bring your hands back through the slip pocket to really push out these corners. Now I use, for most of my pushing, my flute cleaner, which hasn't been on camera lately because I haven't really needed it. But this is going to need some good pushing. Like that. And then with these top bits, we want the zipper tabs to pop out like this. So I'm just going to reach underneath them and push, and they just kind of pop up for us. I am also going to need to do the Tory squish along this bottom edge. So if you've never watched one of my videos before, the Tory squish is you roll it to the end and then violently shake it in opposite directions. And what it does is it helps to crease everything. So you just want to do that all along all the edges to make sure that everything's nice and schmicko. And then this should now be nice and smooth at the edges, and I'm just going to stitch the slip pocket shut. So it's the same principle as the zipper pocket, it's just without a zipper. So I'm going to start in this corner. Now because I chopped out that excess, that corner is actually very nice and flat. Then we're going to back stitch there, pull that out, trim off those tails. I'm going to singe that little bit of a tail there. When singeing your thread, always try and use the blue part of the flame. Alright, and so then I'm going to tuck the slip pocket in and poke those corners out. And then I'm going to push the whole lining into the bag and push it out to the corners. And then I can take this and attach it to my zipper. And voila, one adorable little slip pouch, bag, I don't know what you want to call it, clutch, pouch, I don't know. So I hope that was somewhat helpful, but that's how I design bags. Then I'd go into, so I have a notebook that I'd be writing all of these measurements down in, and then if I was going to turn it into a pattern, I would go and type out instructions. I'd then make a second one and take photos of everything. Because I know lots of people have asked me how to do that. But that's pretty much it. I just need to, I can feel that the slip pocket isn't flat. Now, if you wanted to, you could put a cloth over this and then press it super, super flat in your heat press. You could also have it cold and just leave it squish overnight. It obviously needs longer if there's no heat, but you could squish it super flat if you wanted to. But I think that come out quite cute. Anyway, till next time, guys. Bye.